Hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome back to the show. Today, I'm super excited to dive into today's conversation with Kristina Mack. Kristina has been photographing newborn babies for over 17 years with tiny posers. A lover of simplicity, she creates soulful, elegant, and timeless images. Her unique style has attracted TV personalities, public figures, and celebrities. Kristina has been mentoring fellow photographers on how to find their own style and take their newborn photography skills and businesses to the next level for nearly a decade now. She strongly believes that photographers don't need to be starving artists, and that a side hustle that often starts from the love of photography can also be a very profitable business. Inspired by feminine strength, she's very passionate about self-worth, confidence, and encourages women to play a bigger game in life with an I can have it all attitude. She's also the author of the new book, Newborn and Maternity Photography, Learn the Skills and Build a Business, which was released in August this year. Kristina, welcome.
So lovely to be here, and thank you for having me here.
Absolutely. I've been excited about this conversation. So, what first inspired you to specialize in newborn and maternity photography?
So newborn and maternity photography came into my life accidentally. There was never my plan. My plan was to be a commercial photographer, and that's where I was heading. And then my friends started having babies. I had my own babies. Motherhood and commercial photography doesn't work unless you have a lot of childcare. And this is when I gradually, slowly started moving and became a full-time maternity and newborn photographer. And for many years, in the back of my mind, I always had this as a temporary job.
Yeah.
I always thought one day when either kids start school, I go back to my commercial work. Or if when kids start secondary school, there was always this thought in the back of my mind that one day I'm going to go back to my commercial work. However, I find so much fulfillment in newborn and maternity photography. Also, it can be a really lucrative business if it's done right. So yeah, I just decided, you know what? I'm so happy where I am at the moment. Why change?
I love that. Well, your style, I can pinpoint your images as soon as I see them pop up on my Instagram feed. I know it's Tiny Posers 100%. So,
Oh,
how has
thank
your
you.
photography style, how has it evolved over the past 17 years?
Oh, it changed dramatically.
Yeah.
I probably would say it was in 3 stages.
Yeah.
So when I started, that was many years ago, way before Google. So I was deeply inspired by documentary photographers like Sally Mann, Larry Towell, Emmett Gowan. So all these, they all very raw, very intimate, very emotional, motherhood and family photographers. And this is where I was going with my style, if you could call it style then. So it was more raw, more documentary, more lifestyle, wasn't anything posed, or was a little bit posed and styled, but nothing to the extent that what I do today.
Yeah.
And then my second stage was when Google started. And I started looking at other photographers' work who work in the same niche, and I completely lost myself. I started buying blankets, buckets, flower heads, all sorts of different things. And that was probably for about 4 or 5 years in my career where I didn't know who I am. I wasn't happy with my work. I was forever searching. I always had this thing like, if I only get this blanket, I will be happy and it will be what I love. But it never satisfied me. I was never happy. And then I just sat down and said, look, I'm a very plain person. I don't like lots of color. I don't wear lots of color. My house isn't colorful. I don't like clutter. I don't like things around me. Let's strip it all back and see what we can do with it. And when I stripped everything back, I binned all my props or sold some of them. And I start feeling like, you know what, I'm loving this. I'm liking it. And then I reconnected back. So I kind of went back to a little bit my inspiration that I had in the beginning, but I brought it to a different level. So I created more classic, slightly more polished, but I still try to evoke emotion, intimacy, simplicity, classic, timeless. So yeah, so it's very, very different. So I say even from completely documentary to overly posed and styled to where I am now, very happy with very simple images. which I also believe, like I believe in timeless things. I'm not a spender. I don't consume a lot. If I buy something, I think 20 times, and I only buy something that I could wear until it perishes instead of replacing something every season. So this, for me, I feel my style, current style, really works not just with my aesthetics, what I like to see, but also with my values and personality.
I love that. I think because it really speaks to my heart. I went through that whole journey myself where, when I started, I think it was about 15 years ago, and really the only newborn photography that I was really exposed to was very much just Ann Geddes and maybe Tracy Raver and Kelly Ryden and Baby as Art. That was it. Those were the only newborn photographers that were on the scene. And as things progressed, like I got into that really bad habit of trying to spend my way to better photography and not understanding what my style is or was. And that really took many, many years for me to figure out who I was. And that's really a plight that many of our students and many of our listeners have, is that they don't know how to develop their own unique style. So what advice would you have for that, for trying to figure out who you are?
So I think I was very lucky that when I started, there was no Instagram
Yeah.
and no Pinterest. So the first thing I would say, turn everything off
Yeah.
and look deep inside you. I think the fact that we're exposed to so many images in the same niche and the same genre, that we lose ourselves.
Yeah.
You look at one, you think you like that. You look at the other one, you think you like that. But you don't know really what you like anymore. You don't let yourself think what you like. So I always suggest look for inspiration in other artists' works. It can be photographers, but not necessarily photographers that specialize in the same niche. Or maybe look at the photographers who photographed 100 years ago. Find what speaks to you. Or different artists like painters, even poets.
Yeah.
Like they all can inspire you and help you find. Also find interior design really helps me also to find my style. And look at the image and find what exactly attracts you to that image. Is it light? Is it the way the baby or family or mother is posed? Is it colors? Is it styling? Is it the mood? Is it the feeling, connection? Pick images apart rather than just look at it and say, oh, I like it. It's a nice image. I'm going to add this to the collection and try to replicate it. I think that's the worst thing to do. I think this way you're never going to find who you are. You're just going to keep replicating and replicating without knowing. So this is a bit where I was in that middle journey when I was trying to find my style, just always looking for something, never happy and never finding anything. So I think to get that satisfaction, you really try to find what inspires you. And I say, absolutely do not look to other photographers' work. And don't be scared to be different. It's okay to be different. That's why your client's going to come to you, because you're different, not the same as everybody else. If everybody, oh my goodness, if everybody else is using the same blanket, don't use it. If everybody buys props from whatever seller, don't buy them. Find your own seller. Find your own things rather than buying the same thing. And trust your instincts, because deep inside you, you will know. You will know what's right to you. And also be patient. It takes so long time, such a long time. It took me years. It took me at least 4 or 5 years until I managed to find my style and where I'm happy. So
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's probably
yeah.
the most important things.
I love that you talked about emotional connection too, because that's something that our students are always talking about, that they're trying to evoke in their work. And a lot of them struggle with having clients come in and they're posing, or they're looking directly at the camera and they're really stiff. So do you have any tips on sort of creating that atmosphere for that emotional connection to be nourished?
So first I have to say, I'm not a cheesy person. I wouldn't crack up silly jokes. I wouldn't say things like, look at each other and think about love, or look at the baby and think about the love to the baby. So I would never say things like that. It's not me.
And you're just like, I'm cringing.
Yeah, I just don't feel comfortable. So I I talk a lot to my clients. So from the moment step in through my door, we always talk. I try to find their life story, how they met, how they connected, what's their pregnancy journey. And I think just building a relationship with my clients. So often when my clients leave, they feel like they had the best time, or always, I hope always, when they leave, they feel like they had the best time. And we have really, like, I feel like my friends are leaving, not just clients. And I think that connection, so by the time I usually photograph baby on his or her own to start with, what usually takes me about half an hour, 45 minutes. During that time, I'm always talking to them. So when it comes their turn, we're already friends. And and then if someone is really stiff, just simple, ask them, tilt your head towards the window or tilt your heads towards each other. Once you have someone standing with their head straight up, it reminds me of stiff passport photograph. So just asking someone, just tilt your head. It not just makes it look more comfortable, but also they relax. And another word I never use is relax.
Yeah.
If you keep telling someone, just relax, everything tenses up even more. The shoulders go up, and it just, goes even worse. But I'd say just simple, tilt your head to the side or look down towards the baby. So I give a lot of directions, and I talk. Like I talk nonstop, and I always say like, oh my God, this is amazing. I love it. Oh, this looks so beautiful. So I want them to feel comfortable. I also don't want them to think am I looking awkward? So I guess, but just tilting the head, because my clients love intimate portraits where they either look at each other, parents look at each other, or look at the baby, but they also love classic looking at the camera portraits. So I always shoot both. But for looking at the camera classic portraits, if you just ask them to tilt their heads, it's going to release all the tension, and it will make image a lot more softer, and kind of that over post feeling is gone.
I love that. I think you really hit the nail on the head there. It's about setting that scene of creating that environment where your clients can relax without you having to tell them. And I use that same technique as just using, I talk a lot. I talk a lot with my clients too. And it really, I find you just build this rapport with your clients that you do end up friending them on Facebook afterwards quite often.
Yeah. I also have my clients coming back to me a lot. So feel like it's just part of their life story.
Yeah.
Like I'm becoming a friend, and we're sharing. They know things that happening in my life. I know things that happening in their life. It's just beautiful relationship.
I love that. That's great. So what inspired you to start mentoring other photographers?
So first I got asked a lot.
Yeah.
Can you teach me? Can you teach me? Tell me how you do it. But then also I really want to change the industry.
Yeah.
And I believe if more experienced photographers with the right mindset and the right business skills would teach younger or not necessarily younger in age, but the beginning photographers, then it could change the industry. Because I feel like this genre is not valued as well as the other genres. And I feel like there was a point when almost me, myself, if someone say, oh, what you do? And I would say, I'm a photographer. And they say, oh, who you photograph or what you photograph. And for me to say, oh, babies, it's a bit like, it's not worthy almost. And I feel like a lot of photographers, just because they photograph babies, they feel they undervalued or they don't have enough self-value. So I just want to just basically change the industry, and also find when you start this journey, you spend so much time perfecting your skills as a photographer, especially posing newborns, that you completely ignore business side.
Yeah.
And without business side, nothing's going to happen.
I agree. I completely agree.
And so that's probably just to change the industry and to give more value and more self-esteem to women and more power to other photographers.
I love that. I think it's fascinating that, the wedding industry, and especially I used to work in the wedding industry, and the amount that people will spend on their weddings or that they'll spend on wedding photography. But then when it comes to their newborn photography, which to be honest, I love my husband, but the birth of my son, like, trumps our wedding day. Absolutely. Right. And I don't have newborn photos. of my son.
At
No one
the
was really
same.
doing, right? No one was doing it at the time. And that inspired me to like pick up a camera. But I do find it fascinating that when you look at pricing for weddings and you look at pricing for newborn photography, and we are experts in safety and posing and lighting, and but it's not looked at the same way. And I really think that is interesting. And I'm hoping that the industry does change and it becomes more valued too.
I really hope so. But I also believe that it's us that needs to change the industry.
Yeah.
If we don't value, because I think also as women, we don't often give ourselves the credit, like we don't value, we don't have that much self-esteem. We always try to be a bit lesser, a bit smaller.
Yeah.
And I think that translates into how others perceive us.
Yeah.
Including our photography business.
Yeah.
It's a little bit less worth.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. So, what do you believe is the most important business lesson that photographers often overlook?
Probably fundamentals, I would say. But that would go not just probably business, but also to creative side and photography side. People wanted everything straight away,
Yep.
or yesterday would be best. So we don't give time to build anything. So we jump in, we want clients, but we can't serve them because everything else, like everything is falling apart. You don't have your business set up from the ground. Your foundations aren't there, but you want a roof on your house. So I think starting from fundamentals, from very, very basics, having a plan, understanding how everything works, creating systems, creating workflows, and then obviously pricing. Don't undervalue yourself. That's another thing I think is very important, especially being a female photographer. Again, going back to that woman thing, because you can't sustain your business without profit if you aren't profitable. So profits are very important. Do not lower your price just because you're starting. I mean, if your work isn't there yet, then obviously you can't charge, because you can't charge for something you can't provide. But if you can provide, don't be scared to charge the price you're worth being paid.
Yeah.
And also customer experience. I think customer service is the most important thing. I can't remember which photographer said, but said, I realized that photography is not just to remember the moment, but to remember how you felt in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what our clients will remember as well, not just what you created, not the photograph you captured, not something that's sitting, hanging on your wall or sitting on your side table in an album, but also what they felt. So for me, like client experience is my most important thing, like probably more important than actually the images I'm creating. And I think it's often overlooked.
Mm-hmm.
I think we so focused on the images that we forget the experience and the client. So yeah, start from fundamentals, build your foundations, build your house from foundations brick by brick. And don't just go, how can I find clients? I want to serve them, but you can't serve them because you don't know how to serve them.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's so important. And I think that a lot of the time, especially beginning photographers or even those that have been in the industry for maybe a couple of years and are just starting to charge, they don't even know what the foundations are. So they're trying to
No,
decorate the house and the house isn't even built yet, but they don't even know how to build a house because there's no plan. And I think that you hit the nail on the head, because the real answer is looking at and finding out what those foundations are, what the systems you have to have in place too. Another thing that I find interesting, and it's something that I've gone through too, is because I have a home-based studio, that we sometimes value ourselves less because we don't think that we have this experience of going into a studio or a commercial space. And so we should be making less because it is not as quote unquote professional as everyone else. What are your thoughts on that?
So I had a home studio until about 6 years ago. I think it was about 6 years ago that I moved into commercial place. I think it depends how you perceive your home. So when I worked from home, it didn't look home. I had so many clients asking, do you live here? Like, this is how professional the space looked. So I think it's very important that when you have a home studio, you need to make sure it's professional, Like
Yeah.
you don't want your slippers or your kids' toys or some socks somewhere where a client can see.
Yeah.
Or you don't want to cook, I don't know, an omelette for breakfast. And when you open the door to get your clients in, the first thing you get the smell of that omelette that you cooked for breakfast. So little things like that, I think that's so important. So if you make those changes and you make your space professional, you treat it as a commercial space, I think your clients will perceive it the same way.
Yeah.
I've photographed lots of celebrities in my house.
Yeah.
So it doesn't stop, but you have to make sure you're not, like, you can't photograph in your kitchen,
No.
with all your, I don't know, cutlery and dirty dishes in a
Yeah.
sink. Or you can't get them, if they need to go to the toilet, you can't have them walking through your entire house and seeing all your mess. If they have to, you have to make sure that house is so super tidy that it looks like no one lives there.
Yeah. 100%. That's a really great answer. So you strongly believe that photographers don't need to be starving artists. So how do you develop this business mind approach and teach others to do the same?
So I think first I have to say I'm an immigrant. So I have an immigrant's mindset first. And when you are an immigrant, you work slightly harder than everyone else and you're a bit hungrier than everyone else. But also, we are always like, we are women, we are so strong. We give birth or we carry a baby, we give birth, we look after our household, we look after our children. Like we hold the entire world on our shoulders. But somehow society made us feel a bit lesser, like we're not worthy, we're a bit less than a man is. So it didn't happen overnight. It took me quite a long time to change my mindset and a lot of positive self-talk, a lot of self-help books, a lot of sayings, I'm worth it, I can do it, and real desire to make the difference. I became really not necessarily money hungry, but I like good life. I didn't want to depend on my husband. I wanted to live that life, whether I'm very happily married. But if he is there or not, I wanted to give myself and my children really good life. And and the only way to do that was to change my mindset and realize that I have to get paid for my work.
Yeah.
I have to make the same money as an every man is, or an average man is at least. And if I make more, it's a bonus.
Love that.
So it wasn't easy, but I wanted to have that financial stability. I wanted to have savings in my bank. I never wanted to live in credit. So yeah, all these little things, and respecting the time as well. I wanted people to respect my time, because providing service, you're taking time away from your family. And I love my children to bits. Like I wouldn't want, like, is the time I'm spending with my clients worth not spending time with my children? So changing the way of thoughts and just realizing you're worth it. I say it was a lot of self-help books, a lot
Cool.
of reading, a lot of educating myself.
How old are your children now?
So my daughter is 17 in a few months, and my son is 15.
Yeah. My son just turned
Yes.
15, and it's interesting. I find that my perspective has changed and how much I want to work, because I'm realizing that that time with my son the window is closing. And so I
Yes.
take summers off. I take December off. I don't shoot. I shoot maybe twice a month in the evening because I'm there to pick him up from football or to drive him to practice. And it's interesting how that's shift for me, because in the beginning, I would take any client, anytime, anywhere, any weekend, not really realizing that I didn't have all the time in the world with my child.
No, and I think that's only once it's passed,
Mm-hmm.
once it's gone, you realize that. I'm very similar to you. Now I'm realizing my daughter is she has 2 years of school left, or this year and another year, and she wants to go to study somewhere else. And I'm thinking like, oh, in about years and a half time, she won't be even living with me. So I want to spend, I know it's crazy. So I want to spend my time with her.
Yeah.
But also now where she's nearly 17, she wants to spend her time with her friends.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel a little bit guilty that those years when they really needed me, I wasn't there as much as I should have been.
Yeah,
But then you have to sacrifice something when you build business. And I do
100%.
have that guilt. If I'm with my children or with my family or on holiday, I feel like, oh, I should be working on my
Yep.
business. If I'm working on my business, I always think like, oh, I should be spending time with my family. You
Yeah.
always torn between the two.
Yep. It's so true. And I think for me, when I was able to really establish my business hours, instead of, because before I would be like, I would have, 20 clients a month, and then I would be editing every evening until midnight. And so I really wasn't spending all that much time with my family. But when I started building editing time in my work week schedule, things shifted. I was like, okay, well, I don't have, it takes me 4 hours or so to edit a newborn session. Well, I don't have time to take more clients. Just is what it
So
is, right?
for me, it really changed when I realized that editing takes a lot of time. So I've been outsourcing all my retouching for probably at least 9, 10 years now, probably more like 10,
Nice.
11 even. And that saved me a lot of time. Also, I found if I'm spending so much time retouching, I can't take another client, and
Mhm.
having another shoot would almost double my income.
Yeah.
Because I think being just a one person in business, you're very limited on how much money you can make.
Yeah.
So for me, when I was trying to grow my business, I thought, what can I outsource that doesn't cost too much and could save me lots of time?
I love that. I had an
So
editor for
that
a number
really,
of years, and I agree. It was incredible. Like, I'm not shooting very much right now, so I had let my editor go, but I agree. Like, outsourcing your editing is so transformational. How did you find your editor? Because that's one question that we get a lot in our groups is how do you find someone who's going to fit with your style and someone you can trust with your work?
so this is patience.
Mm.
It required so much patience. Now the editor I have at the moment, it's husband and wife team. I have been working with them for probably two and a half, 2, maybe even 3 years now. So they figured out my style and we work quite well. So it's very smooth process at the moment. But when I'm looking for someone, I get lots of messages on either emails or Instagram messages from retouchers.
Mm-hmm.
So I always, if I'm looking for someone, I always respond to them saying, I can pay you so and so per image. Would you like to trial? And some of them say, yes, I'd love to. Some of them say, no, I won't do it unless you pay whatever amount of money.
Yeah.
So first, I always make sure I tell them my budget
Yeah.
because I don't want to spend $5 per image.
No.
Like, that's not worth it. And once we agree the budget, once they're happy, then I send them few images. And I'd say I probably would send to 20 different retouchers to find one. And that one or two would be close to what I like. And I'd say, you know what, I quite like it, but I don't like this, then this. Can you change it? And then usually they would change or not change.
Yeah.
And that's it. I don't think you can ever find someone who is perfect straight away.
No.
And even with the couple that I have at the moment, it's like it took us probably a good half a year. I'd still say, oh, you did this. I'm not very keen on that. Please, can you change and don't do it again? So it's a long process. It's growing together and figuring out the style together. So I think, again, a lot of times photographers, especially in the beginning, they just want everything instantly.
Yeah.
But everything takes so long. So finding someone to help you who really understands you and works with your style, listens to you, it takes time.
Yeah.
So, and just try, like I say, I tried about 20. And I think that when I found this couple, I tried even more because I just couldn't find, they were all a bit too polished for my style.
Right.
And a bit too changed. So I don't like to alter, like I don't make baby's cheeks bigger or eyes bluer or browner. So I don't manipulate these things. I just like very simple skin retouching. So I always struggle to find someone who really suits my style and who understands what I want. So just be patient.
I think that's really good advice, because I think that there is an expectation that you should be able to just hire someone, meet someone, and they should just be able to take your work and it should look exactly like yours. And for me, that wasn't the case. I ended up with an incredible editor, but it does take that time to train them and to send them videos, multiple videos of like, I wouldn't have done it this way, I would have done it this way, or these are the actions that I use and this is how I use them. And it does take time to train them. And I think that is one thing that's really underestimated, and something that should be expected if you want to hire help with any help. Like if you hire someone to clean your house, it's going to take a while to teach them where your vacuum is and how you like things, right? Or how you want things dusted or not dusted. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I think that's really, really good advice. So you are passionate about self-worth and encouraging women to play a bigger game. Now, how does this philosophy influence your mentorship and your photography?
So there is quite a fair bit of mindset work in my mentorship. In fact, in my business school, in my 6 months program for photographers to build their business or to build successful business, the very first module is mindset. And I always say it's not compulsory, but I highly recommend you doing it, because I think you have to shift your mindset to start with. And I want to empower every woman so they value themselves, value their work, build community around them. So I think that's probably the most important thing, just changing mindset. Also helping with the pricing and numbers. I think once you realize how much things cost, once you're not pulling numbers from everywhere, and once you're not copying also someone else's pricing, which you have no idea whether it's correct or not and how that person works, once you know why you're charging what you're charging, you're a bit more confident and you're okay to say, you know what, my session fee is so and so, 10 digital images or a frame is so and so. I think once you know your numbers, you're confident, and your self-esteem, you build that self-esteem and belief and trust in yourself. I also like, we work both on creative skills and business skills. So I think once again, you're really confident in your work, when you're happy with your work, when you figured out your style, once you know your ideal client, again, it just empowers you. You feel a lot more worthy. And I think once you have that self-worth, everything changes. The energy in the room changes. You talk to people differently. Clients look at you differently. I think it's so important. I think the way we see us in our heads, the same way other kind of people see. If you go and go like, oh, hello, then people will be like, oh, hi, are you not sure what you're doing? But if you go, hi, my name is Kristina, welcome to my studio, they have completely different perception of you.
100%.
So I think
Even like how you're directing them, or like if you're shy and you're just kind of holding back and you're not taking control of the session, it's going to be a very different experience when you're confident and you're like, this is what I'm looking for, this is what I want, this is what I expect. And when you're really clear and confident on that, it really, really makes a difference in how you approach every session and your confidence going into it too, I think.
Definitely. I think it's so important, the confidence. So whenever I teach someone, I always try to empower them to build that confidence, say both in business skills, in creative skills, because often women feel like not confident telling the price.
Yeah.
Which shouldn't be, right? Because we are all worth to be paid. But once you're confident about your numbers, once you're confident about your photography skills, you are just so different. And I think it's so important. It's just challenging those limiting beliefs about everything, yourself, your clients, industry. It makes such a massive, massive difference. And I think also community, to be surrounded by women who are working on the same thing, who also are trying to build the same business, trying to figure out the photography, trying to figure out their style, trying to build a brand. It's very important to be within the same group of people who no one puts you down and everyone tries to lift you up. Because women aren't always like this. Yeah. Like whether directly or indirectly, Like sometimes they smile at your face, pretending they support you, but behind your back, they don't. So it's really nice to have a community of women who really helps you raise, helps you come up as your best version of yourself, professionally and just in life.
I agree. All right. So you ready for our lightning round?
Yes.
Okay. So if you could create the perfect shoot music playlist, what would be the first song on it?
This is the trickiest question of all the questions. I just play soft, mellow pop
Yeah.
just because I'm not a fan of that baby music,
Yeah.
like music that a lot of photographers use for their reels, for example, for their baby pictures. I'm not a big fan of them. So
Yeah.
I just play whatever is on Spotify's soft pop. This is it.
I love it.
And no
Nope.
songs, like nothing but whatever is
Nothing
going.
particular. I love it.
No,
And it's fun because
nothing.
I'm so different because I like have my curated lists where it's like singer songwriter or new artist I've found. And a lot of the times my clients are like, "Can you please send me that playlist?" I'm like, "Absolutely. That was actually a playlist I designed for your session." So it's
Oh
like
my
just
goodness.
yeah, it's just something a little extra that I because then it reminds them of that session with me. And I've clients that, years later they're like, that's still my favorite playlist. So I'm like, "Oh, that's
I
fun.
want
That's
your
fun."
playlist.
I'll send you it.
I want your playlist. Maybe I'll change myself and I'm gonna start creating playlists for my clients as well,
It's
instead of
so
just
fun.
playing whatever comes up.
It's so fun. Are you more likely to overshoot or undershoot during a session?
100% overshoot.
Same.
100%, but I am a lot better. Also find with the newborn shoots, I don't overshoot, but with something like maybe family sessions with 2 young children,
Yeah.
I'm a massive overshooter.
Oof, yeah. In case you need a head swap, I just shoot my little brain out.
Exactly. Yes, the same thing. And then when I load that gallery to my computer, I go, oh my goodness, what I'm going to do now
I know.
with all these images.
I know. What's one thing you'd never compromise in your business?
Quality and customer service.
Good
Like
answer.
for me, to produce the best work I possibly can and create the best clients experiences I possibly can is my 2 most important things.
I love it. Who would you trust to take your family photos?
Now I have a photographer in mind so we have family pictures every couple of years. And yes, she doesn't really photograph teenagers and she doesn't like to photograph teenagers. So she is going to have fun once I tell her, you know what, I'd love you to photograph my family. It's Helen Bartlett. I don't know if you heard of her. She is English, she London based, but she travels around. She photographs families in like black and white images, very documentary style. They look fun. Yeah, different, completely different from my photography style. But I'd really like her to capture my children. I do know that she doesn't like photographing teenagers. So, but I'm sure she'll do that for my family.
I love
Oh, I
that.
hope she will.
Love it. What's your ultimate treat yourself day look like?
Probably a spa day.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I absolutely love my children, probably spa day with my daughter. My son
Yeah.
wouldn't enjoy a spa day, but spa day with my daughter, maybe with a tiny bit of, maybe a bit of shopping, but
Yeah.
not too much. I'm not a big shopping fan. In small doses, it's okay. But yeah,
Yeah.
a spa day with some really, really good meal, that would definitely be a treat for me.
I love that. If you could eat only one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Sushi. I
Same.
love sushi.
Yes. Love it. Good answer. What's your guilty pleasure reality show if you like TV?
Not a big TV fan,
Oh,
so would be nothing, but I'm absolutely podcast obsessed. So
nice.
usually in my spare time, and I'm also obsessed with health podcasts, biohacking podcasts,
Yes.
neuroscience,
Yes.
brain, like all these little things, they just fascinate me.
Yeah.
So that's what I usually binge.
I
That's
love
my
it.
binge-worthy time spending thing. Yeah.
I love it. What makes your soul light up?
So many things.
Yeah.
Being with my family, not just my immediate family, but also my parents, my sister and her family. Also having happy clients.
Yeah.
Like I am at the moment, I'm in such a comfortable place in my life. My business is established. I know exactly who I am. My business is running smoothly. I have all the systems set up. I have happy clients. I have the clients that I love working with. So they make me really happy. And then I wish my kids would be slightly smaller, maybe like 5, 6. So that would make me happier, probably. It's just turn the time back a little bit. But I love spending time with them, like going on holiday, like that really makes me happy.
That. What advice do you have for someone just starting out in newborn photography?
This is probably not necessarily newborn photography, but some time ago I was listening to interview with Elon Musk,
Mhm.
and he was asked a question: what encouragement would you give to a new entrepreneur? And he said, if you need an encouragement, you can't be an entrepreneur. Like you have to go and be hired by someone, basically. And I think that's it for photography. You need to really be hungry for it. You can't just sit in the same spot. You need to learn. Like you really need to educate yourself. You need to find that drive within you, that motivation, because no one's going to be there to support, not necessarily to support, but to really push you to go forward. Like you really need to be your own motivator and your own encourager.
That's a really good answer because there isn't someone who's just going to magically come and say, "Okay, you're ready to charge," or "You can charge more," or "You can be profitable now." You have to figure that out on your own, and you have to say, "You know what? I am worth more. I do deserve to make a living income, and I deserve to be profitable." And I think that we forget that we have that power. So I love that answer.
Yes,
I love
I
that
think it's
answer.
really good. You do not need validation from someone.
I love that.
You're there to make your own decisions.
So where can our listeners learn more from you?
So I have my website, Tiny Poses, tinyposes.com, where my all photography work is. Also, my Instagram is Tiny Poses. And then I have my education website, which is kristinamack.co.uk, where you can find more information how to work with me, how to learn from me. And obviously, I have a photography book, which is you can find on Amazon in any country, which if you want to learn, which I think it's not a very expensive book. And I think if you just interested in photography, or if you've been doing it for a while, you're going to get so much inspiration there. And you will also learn a lot about me, the way I work.
Love that. And you're also going to be teaching for the online newborn retreat in January 2025. So, can you share what you're going to be teaching on?
I'm so excited and I can't wait to share my knowledge. So I'm going to be teaching how I photograph newborns in a timeless, classic way, not styled images, like minimal styling. I'm going to show my workflow, how I actually structure my session. Also going to show how I style props that I use, my blankets, my backdrop blankets, my swaddle blankets, if I'm using any kind of outfit. So I'm going to share how I style it to achieve that classic minimal look. Then my workflow, and also I'm going to share at the end how I edit my images.
I
So
love
I'm
that story.
very excited.
Well, we are so thrilled to have you, and I cannot wait for our students to learn more from you.
Oh, likewise, I'm very, very happy to be with you and can't wait to share the knowledge.
I love to end my interviews just with this last question, and it is, what are you currently curious about or artistically curious about?
So, curious about, I probably half a year ago, I got an Aura ring. I'm not sure if you ever heard about it. It's a bit like a smart ring that tracks your health,
Oh, the
sleep.
Aura ring.
Aura
Yes.
ring, yeah.
Yes.
So I'm absolutely obsessed with that. And I'm really curious with everything that's happening in that part. Photographically, in my photography career, I'm building a LED wall, a LED light wall. Because
Oh,
in
yes.
England, winters are so dark. And last winter was the darkest. So I've been here for just over 20 years. The last winter was the darkest winter in those 20 years. And I thought, if this winter is going to be the same, I need some extra
Need some
lights.
lights. Yeah.
And I'm not a big fan of flash. I'm not a very clumsy person, but always feel like I'm going to knock it and it's going to fall on a baby. I always have that anxiety in the back of my mind. So I do use flash sometimes when it gets really dark. So I decided to build a LED wall, like an artificial window. And I haven't tried it yet. It's just been built. So I'm so curious to see what I'm going to think about it. If I'm going to find it more like a flash, or where I'm going to find it more like a natural light, because I'm a natural light photographer. Yeah. So yes, so that's going to challenge my creativity. I'm very, very curious to see how it works.
I love it. Well, you'll have to share with us some behind the scenes when you get it up and running, because I'm so intrigued myself. I'm in Canada and we get some pretty dark winters here myself.
Yeah, so hopefully it's going to be fantastic. I'll let you know.
I love it. Well, Kristina, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been such a pleasure talking to you.
Likewise, thanks for having me, and it was a joy to talk to you.
Oh, my beautiful friends, I hope you have enjoyed this conversation just as much as I have. I'm sending you so much of my light and my love today and every single day. We'll see you next time.